What if the pressure you feel is not the weight of defeat, but the preparation for something so overwhelming that your life will never be the same again? Stay with me, because this message is not for those who have already given up. It is for the person who still dares to believe that God has the final word. It is for the one who has cried in silence, who has prayed when no one was watching, who has stood when everything inside wanted to collapse. Listen carefully, because God's favor is not arriving like a gentle breeze. It is about to hit like a tsunami, and when God moves, nothing on earth can stop what He has already decided. There are moments in life when everything appears quiet, almost too quiet. You look around and wonder if God has forgotten your name. You see others celebrating while you are still waiting. You watch opportunities pass by, and you ask yourself if your season will ever come. Yet what you cannot see is that God is never inactive. Even when heaven seems silent, God is working with perfect wisdom. Even when your eyes see nothing changing, God is arranging what no human hand could ever arrange. The greatest miracles often begin long before anyone recognizes them. The greatest victories are prepared in places where no applause can be heard. God does not need permission from the world to bless you. He does not need approval from people to elevate you. When God decides that your season has arrived, no obstacle is strong enough, no enemy is powerful enough, and no circumstance is permanent enough to stand in His way. Many people misunderstand the favor of God. They imagine it means a life without struggle, a road without obstacles, or a future without pain. But God's favor has never depended on the absence of difficulty. Sometimes His favor carries you through the fire instead of around it. Sometimes His favor teaches you through the valley before leading you to the mountain. Sometimes His favor allows the pressure because He knows what it is producing within you. Gold is purified through heat. Strength is developed through resistance. Character is built through endurance. God is not preparing weak people for great purposes. He is preparing faithful hearts that will trust Him, even when the answers have not yet appeared. Think about your own journey. How many times did you believe it was over? How many nights did you lie awake wondering if your prayers had reached heaven? How many mornings did you wake up carrying burdens too heavy for anyone else to understand? Yet here you are. You survived what was supposed to break you. You endured seasons that should have destroyed your hope. You kept moving even when your strength was almost gone. Do not mistake your survival for luck. Do not call it coincidence. It was the hand of God protecting you every step of the way. While you were focused on the battle, God was preserving your future. While you were counting your losses, God was preparing your restoration. God's timing has never been late. Human beings measure life by clocks and calendars, but God measures life by purpose. We become impatient because we only see today. God remains patient because He sees every tomorrow. You may believe your blessing has been delayed, but perhaps it has been protected. If God had opened the door too early, you would not have been ready. If He had answered every request immediately, you might have stepped into opportunities that looked good, but would have led you away from His perfect plan. God knows the difference between what you want and what you truly need. His wisdom is greater than your understanding, and His vision reaches far beyond your imagination. There is something extraordinary about people who refuse to surrender their faith in God during difficult seasons. They become unshakable. They discover a peace that cannot be purchased and a confidence that cannot be explained. The world may call them foolish for believing when nothing appears to be changing, but they understand a truth that many never learn. Faith does not begin after the miracle happens. Faith begins before the miracle becomes visible. Faith believes while the ground is still dry. Faith trusts while the door is still closed. Faith continues praying while everyone else has stopped expecting anything to happen. God always honors the heart that refuses to abandon Him. Perhaps you have spent years believing that your greatest days are behind you. Perhaps disappointment has convinced you that your dreams were too big. Maybe failure has whispered that you are unworthy of God's attention. Those voices are not telling you the truth. God is not limited by your past mistakes. He is not discouraged by your previous failures. He is not intimidated by your current circumstances. The same God who formed the heavens and the earth is fully able to transform one ordinary moment into the beginning of an extraordinary future. One decision from God can change everything. One moment of His favor can accomplish what years of human effort could never achieve. The world teaches people to depend entirely on themselves. It says that success belongs only to the strongest, the wealthiest, or the most connected. But God's ways are different. God delights in showing His power through those who remain humble before Him. He lifts those who trust Him. He strengthens those who seek Him. He guides those who surrender their plans into His hands. Human strength has limits, but God's power has none. Human opportunities disappear, but God's possibilities never end. Human promises are often broken, but God's faithfulness remains forever. There is a reason your spirit refuses to give up. There is a reason hope continues to rise inside you even after disappointment. That hope is not an accident. It is a reminder that God is not finished writing your story. As long as God is with you, there is always another chapter waiting to unfold. The page you are living today is not the final page. The pain you feel today is not the final truth. The struggle you face today is not the end of your journey. God specializes in bringing unexpected breakthroughs when people least expect them. He opens doors that no one imagined. He creates pathways where none seemed possible. He turns impossible situations into testimonies of His greatness. Imagine standing on the shoreline before a mighty wave begins to rise. At first, the water appears calm. There is little indication of what is about to happen. Then, almost without warning, the ocean begins to move with unstoppable force. That is how God's favor often arrives. Before the breakthrough comes, everything may appear ordinary. Before the answer arrives, silence may fill the atmosphere. Before the blessing becomes visible, nothing may seem different at all. But beneath the surface, God is already moving with unimaginable power. When His appointed moment arrives, the change is undeniable. What looked impossible suddenly becomes reality. What seemed unreachable suddenly becomes yours according to His perfect will. Do not underestimate what God can accomplish in a single season. Years of disappointment can be replaced by overwhelming joy. Long seasons of waiting can give way to opportunities beyond anything you imagined. Relationships can be restored. Purpose can be renewed. Peace can replace anxiety. Courage can overcome fear. The same God who carried you through yesterday is fully capable of leading you into a tomorrow filled with greater hope than you have ever known. The enemy of your peace wants you to believe that nothing will ever change. Fear tells you to lower your expectations. Doubt encourages you to settle for less than what God desires for your life. But God calls you to lift your eyes higher. He calls you to trust beyond what you can currently see. He invites you to believe that His power is greater than every obstacle standing before you. When you place your confidence in God instead of your circumstances, you begin living with a hope that no disappointment can destroy. There is a difference between wishing and believing. Wishing depends on chance. Believing depends on God. Wishing asks, what if? Believing declares, God is able. Wishing disappears when difficulties increase. Believing grows stronger because it knows that God remains the same in every season. Let your heart become anchored in that confidence. Let every fear be replaced by the certainty that God is working even when you cannot yet see the evidence. The greatest transformations often begin within the heart before they become visible in the world. God changes the way you think before He changes your circumstances. He builds your character before He expands your influence. He strengthens your faith before He enlarges your responsibility. The preparation may seem slow, but it is never wasted. Every lesson has a purpose. Every challenge has meaning. Every delay has the potential to deepen your trust in the one whose wisdom never fails. Today, choose to reject the voices that tell you your best days are over. Refuse to accept hopelessness as your future. Refuse to believe that disappointment has the final word. Lift your eyes toward God with renewed confidence. Speak to your own heart with courage. Remind yourself that the God who has sustained you until this moment has not reached the limits of His power. His mercy has not been exhausted. His wisdom has not diminished. His ability has not weakened. He is still the God who changes lives, restores hope, opens impossible doors, and pours out favor beyond human understanding. Perhaps the greatest miracle waiting ahead is not simply a change in your circumstances, but a deeper understanding of who God truly is. When you know God's character, you can trust Him even before the answer arrives. You can remain peaceful in uncertain moments because your confidence rests in His faithfulness rather than your own understanding. You begin to realize that no season is meaningless when God is leading you. Every step becomes part of a greater purpose, and every challenge becomes another opportunity to witness His wisdom at work. There comes a moment in every life when excuses lose their power and truth stands before us without compromise. That moment is not meant to shame you. It is meant to awaken you. Ask yourself honestly, what has occupied your heart more than God? Has fear become your closest companion? Has worry taken the throne where trust belongs? Have you spent more time rehearsing your problems than remembering the greatness of the one who holds every tomorrow? These are not questions to condemn you. They are questions that invite you back to the place where peace begins. God has never asked you to carry the weight of the world upon your shoulders. He has asked you to trust Him. There is a difference, and that difference changes everything. Many people spend years waiting for life to become easier before they decide to believe with confidence. But faith does not wait for comfort. Faith rises in discomfort. It grows stronger in uncertainty. It shines brightest when everything around it appears dark. Anyone can speak of hope when the skies are clear. It takes courage to declare the goodness of God while standing in the middle of a storm. Yet those are the people who witness the greatest displays of His power. They are not fearless because life has been easy. They are fearless because they have discovered that God is greater than anything standing against them. You may be surrounded by people who have already decided what your future will look like. They have measured your potential according to your past. They have judged your tomorrow by yesterday's failures. They have placed limits upon you because they cannot imagine what God can do. But remember this truth: human opinions cannot cancel divine purpose. The voices around you may become louder, but they can never become greater than the voice of God. When God declares that your season has come, no criticism can stop it. No rejection can delay it. No opposition can destroy it. God's decisions are not subject to human approval. Sometimes the greatest obstacle is not the mountain before you, but the doubt within you. That quiet voice that whispers, perhaps this blessing is meant for someone else. That hidden fear that says, maybe I have waited too long. That painful memory that convinces you your mistakes have permanently disqualified you. Those thoughts do not come from the wisdom of God. God does not define you by the chapters that brought you pain. He sees the entire story. He sees what you are becoming, not only where you have been. He sees strength where you see weakness. He sees purpose where you see confusion. He sees victory while you are still learning to stand. Never underestimate what God can accomplish through one heart that refuses to surrender. History has always been changed by people who trusted God more than they trusted their fears. They did not possess perfect circumstances. They possessed unwavering confidence that God would not abandon them. That confidence became their foundation. It steadied them when the ground beneath them seemed to shake. It lifted them when disappointment tried to pull them down. It carried them beyond every prediction of failure. Look closely at the struggles that once frightened you. Some of them are already behind you. At one time, you believed they would last forever. At one time, you could not imagine surviving them. Yet here you stand, stronger, wiser, more aware of God's faithfulness than ever before. If God brought you through those seasons, why should you believe He will abandon you now? The same hand that guided you yesterday is guiding you today. The same wisdom that protected you before is still surrounding your life. God's character does not change with circumstances. His faithfulness is constant. His mercy is constant. His power is constant. There are blessings that cannot be forced. There are doors that cannot be opened by human strength alone. We often exhaust ourselves trying to control outcomes that belong only to God. We plan endlessly. We worry endlessly. We replay every possibility in our minds until peace disappears. Yet God gently reminds us that peace is found not in controlling the future, but in trusting the one who already knows it. What a remarkable freedom it is to release your burdens into the hands of God. What strength is found in admitting that His wisdom far exceeds your own. Surrender is not weakness. In the presence of God, surrender becomes the beginning of true strength. Do not allow temporary disappointment to create permanent hopelessness. Seasons change, circumstances change, opportunities change. But above all these things, God remains unchanged. The world is constantly shifting, yet God remains the unshakable foundation upon which every lasting hope is built. Anchor your heart there. Let your confidence rest there. When everything around you seems uncertain, remember that certainty has never been found in circumstances. It has always been found in God. Perhaps you have been asking God for open doors, while He has been preparing you to walk through them with wisdom. Perhaps you have been praying for greater responsibility, while He has been shaping your character to carry it well. God's preparation is an expression of His love. He refuses to give you what would ultimately harm you simply because you desire it quickly. His delays are often acts of protection. His timing is always filled with purpose, even when it stretches your patience. There is something powerful that happens when a person finally decides to stop living as a prisoner of fear. The chains may have been invisible, but they were real. Fear limits vision. Fear steals courage. Fear convinces people to settle for less than what God intends. But trust breaks those chains. Trust lifts your eyes beyond present circumstances. Trust reminds you that God's possibilities are always greater than your limitations. Trust gives you the courage to take another step when others have stopped walking. Do not measure your life by what you currently possess. Measure it by the faithfulness of God that has sustained you through every season. Wealth can disappear, positions can change. Human praise can fade as quickly as it arrives. But the favor of God carries a value that cannot be measured by earthly standards. It gives peace when money cannot. It gives hope when success cannot. It gives courage when strength alone is not enough. That is why the favor of God is worth seeking above everything else. It transforms not only your circumstances, but also your heart. As God's favor begins to move in your life, you may discover that some people become uncomfortable with your growth. Do not let their discomfort become your destination. Not everyone will understand what God is doing. Some will question it, others will criticize it. A few may even resist it. Continue walking with humility. Continue giving thanks to God. Never allow success to make you proud, and never allow criticism to make you bitter. Keep your eyes fixed on the one who opened the way. The same God who lifts people up also teaches them to remain humble. True favor never produces arrogance. It produces gratitude. The greatest victories are often invisible before they become visible. They begin with a decision to forgive instead of holding bitterness, a decision to trust instead of worrying, a decision to pray instead of complaining, a decision to remain faithful when giving up seems easier. These quiet decisions may never receive applause from the world, but heaven sees every one of them. God sees the battles fought within your heart. He sees every sacrifice made in obedience. Nothing done sincerely for His sake is ever forgotten. If you feel weary today, do not mistake weariness for defeat. Even the strongest hearts experience moments of exhaustion. Rest does not mean you have abandoned the journey. It means you recognize that your strength comes from God and not from yourself. Return to Him. Speak honestly before Him. Pour out every fear, every question, every burden. God is never overwhelmed by your weakness. He is the one who strengthens those who admit they need Him. The world celebrates those who appear powerful, but God values those who remain faithful. Faithfulness may seem ordinary to human eyes, yet it is extraordinary in the sight of God. Continue doing what is right even when no one notices. Continue choosing integrity when shortcuts seem easier. Continue speaking truth when compromise appears more profitable. Every act of faithfulness is planting seeds for a harvest that God alone can produce. Nothing done with a sincere heart is wasted in His hands. Lift your expectations, not because of your own ability, but because of the greatness of God. Refuse to believe that disappointment is your permanent address. Refuse to allow yesterday's pain to dictate tomorrow's possibilities. Stand with confidence rooted in God's unchanging nature. The wave of His favor is not driven by human effort. It is moved by His wisdom, His mercy, and His perfect purpose. When that wave rises, it carries away despair, washes over fear, and leaves behind renewed hope for those who have placed their trust completely in Him. Hold firmly to that hope. Guard it carefully. Nurture it daily. For the God who has carried you this far is more than able to lead you into a future that reflects His goodness, His wisdom, and His unfailing faithfulness. There is a dangerous habit that quietly steals the strength of many hearts. It is the habit of looking at life through the eyes of fear instead of the eyes of faith. Fear magnifies every obstacle until it appears impossible to overcome. It convinces you that the walls before you are permanent, that your failures define your future, and that your present circumstances have already written the final chapter of your story. But God has never asked you to place your confidence in what your eyes can measure. He calls you to trust what His wisdom has already established. Your vision is limited to this moment. God's vision reaches beyond generations. He sees the beginning and the end at the same time. He knows every road before you walk it, every challenge before you face it, and every victory before it becomes visible. Why would you surrender to fear when the one guiding your life has never been surprised by a single event? Look honestly into your own heart. What occupies your thoughts when you wake each morning? Is your mind immediately consumed by anxiety, or does it remember the greatness of God? What fills your conversations? Complaints or gratitude? What shapes your decisions? Panic or trust? These questions matter because the direction of your thoughts often becomes the direction of your life. A heart that continually feeds on fear will eventually become weary. A heart that continually remembers God will discover strength even in the hardest seasons. The battle is not only around you. Much of it begins within you. Before circumstances change, your perspective must change. Before new doors open, your heart must become prepared to walk through them with humility, courage, and unwavering dependence upon God. Never believe that God measures people the way the world does. Society often values appearance above character, popularity above integrity, and temporary success above lasting faithfulness. God looks deeper. He sees motives that no human eye can detect. He sees sincerity hidden beneath quiet acts of obedience. He notices prayers whispered in loneliness. He remembers tears that no one else ever witnessed. Nothing escapes His knowledge. Not one sincere effort is forgotten. Not one act of patience is wasted. Even when people overlook your faithfulness, God never does. There are moments when it feels as though nothing is moving. You continue praying, you continue believing, you continue waiting, yet the landscape around you seems unchanged. Those moments test more than your patience. They reveal where your confidence truly rests. Anyone can remain hopeful after immediate results. It takes a steadfast heart to continue trusting God when answers have not yet appeared. That kind of trust becomes stronger than emotion. It becomes a way of living. It becomes the quiet confidence that says, even if I cannot see what God is doing today, I know He is working with perfect wisdom. Do not confuse silence with absence. God does not stop working simply because you cannot hear His voice in the way you expected. Seeds grow beneath the soil long before anyone celebrates the harvest. Foundations are laid beneath the ground before great buildings rise toward the sky. In the same way, God often performs His greatest work where human eyes cannot see it. While you are wondering why nothing appears to be happening, God may be strengthening your character, refining your priorities, removing distractions, and preparing blessings that require a wiser, stronger, and more grateful heart. There is another truth many people struggle to accept. God's favor is not meant to make you comfortable in spiritual laziness. It is meant to awaken greater responsibility. Every blessing carries an opportunity to honor God more deeply. Every open door invites greater faithfulness. Every increase in influence demands greater humility. If your prayer is only for comfort, you may miss the greater purpose God has prepared for your life. Ask instead for wisdom. Ask for integrity. Ask for courage to remain faithful when success arrives just as you sought faithfulness during seasons of waiting. A heart grounded in gratitude will never become intoxicated by temporary achievements because it remembers the true source of every good thing. You cannot carry bitterness into the future. God is preparing for you. Bitterness feels powerful for a moment, but over time it quietly drains your peace, clouds your judgment, and hardens your heart. Some of you have been holding on to wounds for years. You remember words that hurt you. You remember betrayal. You remember rejection. Those memories still whisper to your soul. Yet ask yourself this question: are you allowing yesterday's pain to become tomorrow's prison? God calls you toward freedom, and freedom often begins with releasing what you have carried for far too long. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it prevents the past from controlling your future. When you place your pain before God, you allow Him to replace heaviness with peace and resentment with renewed strength. Be careful not to compare your journey with someone else's. Comparison has robbed countless people of joy. You see another person's success, but you do not see the hidden struggles they endured. You see the harvest, but you did not witness the years of patient planting. God writes every story with unique wisdom. Your timing is not their timing. Your purpose is not their purpose. Stop measuring your life against the lives of others. Instead, measure your faithfulness before God. That is the standard that truly matters. A heart fully devoted to God possesses a wealth the world cannot calculate. The greatest transformations rarely happen all at once. They happen decision by decision, day by day, prayer by prayer. One choice to trust instead of panic. One choice to remain honest instead of compromising. One choice to keep believing when discouragement seems easier. These choices may appear small, yet they shape the entire direction of your life. Character is built through consistent obedience. Strength is developed through repeated trust. Faith grows every time you choose God over fear. Perhaps today you feel unqualified. Perhaps you have convinced yourself that your weaknesses have become permanent barriers. But God has never searched for perfect people. He works through willing hearts. He strengthens those who admit their dependence upon Him. Pride says, I can manage alone. Wisdom says, without God, I cannot become what I was created to be. There is no shame in depending upon the one who created you. In fact, That dependence becomes the very source of your greatest strength. As the favor of God draws nearer, you may notice a growing sense of expectation within your spirit. Protect it. Do not allow endless negativity to suffocate it. Guard your heart from voices that constantly predict failure. Fill your thoughts with reminders of God's faithfulness instead of rehearsing your fears. What you repeatedly meditate upon will eventually shape your outlook. If your mind continually feeds upon hopelessness, your strength will weaken. But if your heart continually remembers God's greatness, courage will begin to rise even before circumstances improve. There is an invitation before you today. It is not merely an invitation to hope for better circumstances. It is an invitation to become a different person, a person whose confidence is rooted in God instead of temporary success, a person whose peace remains steady when storms appear, a person who refuses to allow disappointment to extinguish faith, a person who walks with quiet humility because every victory belongs to God and every blessing points back to His goodness. That kind of life cannot be shaken by changing seasons because its foundation is eternal. Never underestimate what God can accomplish through one surrendered heart. One life completely devoted to truth can influence countless others. One courageous decision can change an entire family for generations. One act of unwavering faith can inspire people who have nearly abandoned hope. Do not think your life is too ordinary to matter. God has always accomplished extraordinary things through people who simply trusted Him completely. Greatness in the sight of God is not measured by applause. It is measured by faithfulness. So stand where you are today with renewed confidence. Lift your eyes higher than your circumstances. Lift your thoughts higher than your fears. Lift your expectations higher than the limitations others have placed upon you. God has not brought you this far to abandon you at the edge of your breakthrough. The waves of His favor do not arrive by accident. They move according to His perfect wisdom and flawless timing. When they come, they reshape perspectives, strengthen weary hearts, restore broken hope, and remind every trusting soul that God's power has never diminished. The world may change without warning. Circumstances may rise and fall like the tides of the sea. But God remains constant forever, and those who anchor their hearts in Him will discover a confidence that no storm can wash away and no challenge can silence. Do not allow your heart to become so familiar with disappointment that it no longer recognizes hope when it arrives. There are people who have lived in seasons of struggle for so long that they begin expecting defeat before the battle even begins. They speak limitation before they take the first step. They surrender in their minds long before life presents its greatest opportunities. But God did not create you to live beneath the weight of constant despair. He created you with the ability to trust Him beyond what your eyes can see. Every morning you awaken is another reminder that His mercy has not run out. Every breath you take is evidence that your purpose has not been canceled. If God has allowed you to see another day, then there is still work to be done within you and through you. Sometimes we ask God to change our surroundings while He is patiently working to transform our hearts. We want different circumstances, but God desires deeper character. We seek immediate relief, but God seeks lasting strength. We ask for quick answers, yet God prepares enduring wisdom. Never forget this truth. A changed circumstance without a changed heart often produces temporary joy, but a transformed heart can remain peaceful even while circumstances are still unfolding. That is the remarkable work of God. He gives a kind of strength that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or manufactured by human effort. It is built through trust, refined through patience, and sustained by continual dependence upon Him. Ask yourself a difficult question. If every visible blessing disappeared tomorrow, would your faith remain unshaken? Would you still declare the greatness of God if comfort gave way to hardship? Would you still trust Him If every plan you carefully arranged suddenly changed? These questions reveal where your foundation truly rests. Anyone can celebrate when life moves according to expectation. It is in the unexpected moments that genuine trust is revealed. God is worthy of your confidence not only because of what He gives, but because of who He is. His greatness does not increase when life becomes easy, and it does not diminish when life becomes difficult. He remains perfect, faithful, wise, and completely worthy of your trust in every season. There is extraordinary power in refusing to become a prisoner of your past. Some people spend years carrying old failures as though they are permanent identities. They introduce themselves through their regrets. They define themselves by moments they wish they could erase. Yet God invites you to stop looking backward with hopelessness and begin looking forward with expectation. Your past may explain certain wounds, but it does not have the authority to determine your future. God alone holds that authority. The mistakes that once embarrassed you can become reminders of His mercy. The hardships that once weakened you can become evidence of the strength He developed within you. Nothing surrendered to God is beyond His ability to use for good. Be careful not to mistake movement for progress. Many people remain constantly busy, yet they are spiritually standing still. They fill every hour with activity, but leave no room for reflection. They chase achievements while neglecting their relationship with God. Slow down long enough to examine your heart. Are your daily decisions bringing you closer to God or distracting you from Him? Are your ambitions producing gratitude or feeding pride? Are your conversations reflecting hope or spreading discouragement? These are not small matters. They shape the direction of your life one day at a time. A person may gain recognition from the world while quietly drifting away from the peace that only God can give. Never allow temporary success to cost you eternal values. God often works through ordinary moments that people overlook. A quiet morning of sincere prayer, a simple act of kindness that no one applauds, a difficult decision to remain honest when dishonesty appears more rewarding. These moments may never become headlines, yet they are precious before God. Great lives are not built only through dramatic events. They are built through thousands of faithful choices made when no audience is watching. That is where true strength grows. That is where character takes root. That is where God prepares people to carry greater responsibility without losing humility. Now the question is no longer whether God is able. The question is whether you are willing to trust Him completely. Will you continue allowing fear to make your decisions, or will you place your confidence in the one whose wisdom has never failed? Will you keep carrying burdens that were never meant to rest upon your shoulders? Or will you finally surrender them to God with a heart that believes He is sufficient? Every day presents this choice. Every moment becomes an opportunity to move closer to God or further from Him. No one else can make that decision for you. Your family cannot choose it. Your friends cannot choose it. The world cannot choose it. It begins in the quiet place where your heart stands before God with complete honesty. Perhaps today you have realized that you have been living with divided priorities. You have invested great energy into temporary things while neglecting what is eternal. You have searched for security in circumstances that constantly change instead of anchoring your life in the unchanging faithfulness of God. If that is true, do not allow conviction to become discouragement. Let it become a turning point. God is not calling you backward into regret. He is calling you forward into renewal. Every sincere step toward Him is a step away from fear. Every act of trust weakens the grip of doubt. Every moment spent remembering His greatness strengthens your heart for whatever lies ahead. Do not leave this moment unchanged. Refuse to let these words become another message that briefly stirs your emotions before fading into memory. Let them become a decision. Let them become a commitment Make today the day you choose to trust God more deeply than ever before. Choose gratitude over complaint. Choose faith over fear. Choose integrity over compromise. Choose humility over pride. Choose hope over despair. These choices may seem small in a single moment, but they shape an entire lifetime. They prepare your heart to recognize the movement of God when His favor begins to unfold.